Hello again. This is the Engage Your Passion, or we like to say the EYP podcast. I am Tony.
I'm Sarah.
And together we are Tony and Sarah. And we are here today talking about financial stability in the arts and entertainment industry. Wow.
There's such a thing?
Some people say financial stability. Is that an oxymoron?
Yeah.
But I think with everything going on and, after having our conversation with Matt and the challenges he's faced, obviously our challenges that we've had with financial stability in this industry. The thing is, I would say is it can be done, but I feel, at least in our experience, it has to be deliberate. You can't just make, just say you can't make, $10 and then just go, I'm going to spend whatever I need to spend. And then, hopefully you'll have, $3 at the end. I feel our experience has to be deliberate. And I think just talking about that today is what, we've had requests on, that financial aspect of this industry. And I think,
I know a lot of parents have that question when their kids are like, ooh, this is what I want to do. Parents are like, is it even possible? Like, it seems like you have to be, Bernadette Peters or a movie star. I
think it's a false belief that has not been communicated. Because for us, we know that right now, there are more opportunities in the arts and entertainment, TV, film, animation, just basically creative content in general. There are more opportunities now than there ever have been with YouTube and Instagram and, Netflix shows and independent films. There are more opportunities to make a living now than ever. However, I still feel that stipulation or that, I don't know what you call it, that image of the starving artist is still prevalent, especially with, high school students, college students who want to, basically pursue this career. A lot of parents push security and want security. You're going to get a degree in this so that, if and when, your big break doesn't happen, you can fall back on this.
My mom was like that. My mom's parents were like that. And if you've listened to our previous podcast, my mom is an organist and all of that.
With the PhD.
And her parents made her, I think she had to go get a business degree. And
which doesn't hurt though.
It didn't hurt. And she went and she got I don't want to misrepresent her, but I think she got like a psychology something and worked in counseling. And then, like I said, in my great interview that you did with me, she's, always gone back to school to finally do what she wanted to do. So I mean, it's kind of like a long tradition that has kind of happened. We've even had students who, yes, you can go for dance, but you also need to get the secondary.
Right. And then of course there's some people like you and I who, I'm a hybrid. So you did not go to school, just using this as a Matt follow-up, Matt Doyle, who was our spotlight, beginning a couple of weeks ago. He went to school. I did a hybrid of both, started, finished, a certain amount, and then went on to work. But I find that if you're going to work in the industry, just my experience, it's the value you bring to the organization or to the project is what's going to get you the job, not necessarily the piece of paper. Piece of paper is really good if you're going to pretty much go back into academia. Hey, I want to go be a teacher, an independent school district, or I want to be a college professor or something to that extent. Obviously, you need not even these days. A bachelor's doesn't work. You have to have a master's. Like Bettina. Bettina is our operations manager, and she has her master's in public relations, and so that obviously helps our business grow and expand. But at the same time, the value she brings to us is more important than the paper for us. Most organizations, that I have been with, that piece of paper helps in administration positions. On the creative side, though, I've seen people literally first timers come in and get a high paying position where the person with the master's is sitting there on this, sitting on there twiddling their thumb. So I'm not saying one way or the other. You have to figure out what's right for you when it comes to education. But I think today's topic, though, is the finances with it.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people are saying that, finances, they don't teach that in school. Like a lot of, even in high school, like kids don't know how to manage money and they have
balance
to.
A checkbook.
They don't know how to do any of that.
Well, I don't say, and I don't want to generalize, but a lot of people don't. I never learned money management in school. It was taught to, I had some really great teachers, my dad, who, investor, real estate, and broker, all that kind of stuff. Not broker, real estate investment. He has an investment company that, he works with, and they build, buildings and stuff like that. So I learned from him. I learned from our accountant, the business accountant, Alan, who is himself a multimillionaire, saying, no, what they taught you in school, it just doesn't work.
I had to listen to podcasts. Yeah, I did. I listened to Rachel Cruz, Dave Ramsey's daughter. Mm-hmm. But I think kind of going into what we were talking about, even though, Dave Ramsey is great, and he did lots of great principles. And
if you don't know that, I'm just going to interrupt a second. Dave Ramsey has a service or solution called Financial Peace. And it's a how to get out of debt system that he has helped literally millions of people get out of debt. So I'll just...
Yeah, I think the principles of that are great. What it left me wondering, and maybe we can talk a little bit about it, is I don't work in corporate America. I don't get, as someone that works in the arts and entertainment industry, what I am bringing in every single month is not the same. I was teaching dance for a long time. So I wasn't on a salary. I was on an hourly. And if it was, Christmas and New Year's, I'm off for 2 weeks. And, I'm basically having to, although I'm 1099, I'm having to operate as my own business. And I had to you taught me a lot about what to write off. And now there's really cool things like apps that will track your miles, which is kind of scary, but
know exactly where you're going, but where you've been going.
Right. But it will track your miles so you can rate your miles, all of that type of stuff. But it was something that I had to have you, yes, you're my sweet husband, but you also had to kind of be a mentor to me of you can write this stuff off.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said, it depends on where you are and what aspect of the industry, because many people who work in arts and entertainment, especially the crew work, technical, electricians, stuff like that, if you're working on set, sometimes they'll put you on a W-2. Mm-hmm. Most times you're 1099. And just for those, we have a range of listeners. So just, if you're one of our younger, high school and things like that, versus our college, a 1099 is a independent contractor, meaning they will hire you and pay you a flat rate. So if someone hires you, take photography for $100, you're going to get $100. But the government, depending on your situation, is going to be pulling, anywhere between 20 and 32% of taxes that they're going to be asking for at the end of the year. And if you, let's put it this way, just because it's real life, if you do what you're supposed to do and report that $100, they're going to be asking for taxes on that. One thing I've found with the funding, we call it funding and financial resources. A lot of people tend to not report their cash. And I've seen people get audited and, get in trouble. So it's just, you can push that gray line all you want. But I guess what I'm getting to is with W-2s versus 1099, these systems like Dave Ramsey and the Cruz, what's her name? Rachel Cruz is his daughter. They are geared towards people who are getting a flat income every month. They go get a salary. It's not necessarily for the person who's on a shift. At least in my opinion, it's not a person who's basically hourly. And if you work 10 hours this week, that's great. And you work 15 next week, and that's fine. You work 5. But it does give you a structure of what systems to do. For us, our financial, our funding and financial resources are basically geared towards people who do not make the exact same money every week or exact same money every month. And what tools and tricks help for that. So for instance, like let's kind of bring Matt into the conversation.
Well, I like, maybe you can we can dissect his story a little bit. His view was amazing.
Yeah.
And you hear about living in New York and that it's crazy expensive, and with everything going on and being, the starving artist or whatever, how do you live in New York with a view like that? Well,
he even said, I think they were in Jersey City, which was a great view of the city. It was just, that was one thing you saw. I was like, wow, how are you doing that? If you guys want to see a great view from an apartment, go check out the podcast because it was really, the simulcast, it's on YouTube. But with that view, he even said, it was really amazing to be able to be in Jersey City and find this view and find this apartment for this price. Okay. So I think, dare I say, budgeting. Got to budget because, it may look pretty. It's like, oh my gosh, you get to the car dealership and let's just say you look at that Lexus and you go, your eyes say one thing and your pocketbook says something completely different.
I saw a thing. It had rent, and it listed all like bills and car note and, your college loans and just everything. And then it said the $10 Spotify, a month is not why you're broke. Because you have to look at the bigger things that you're spending money on.
Yeah. And I think with that, I guess coming back to with Matt and his view and stuff like that, he even mentioned, it's something that we were surprised we could get the pricing and it worked. Basically, it fit in their budget. And that's one thing I think that people in the arts, I think is why we get this, what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotype of a starving artist. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's not completely stable environment, but when it's good, it's really great. And when it's bad, if you're engaging in your passion, it's still good. It's just difficult and has some challenges to it. And I think, so for us, I think one of the things that we would say, I guess I would focus on is, learn how to budget. And it's not rocket science, but it is something that I feel you have to turn into a habit.
Yeah, and for just my experience, I could put a budget together all day long.
Yeah, well, that's true.
It's sticking to the budget and having the discipline. And honestly, it's, it goes back, we talked last week about health, but it's making these promises to yourself to have, because you want certain things in your life and you have to make the promises and you have to follow through. Right.
And I think you're very right. Because there's many people out there, I'm sure, who are saying, I've got a budget. Yeah. But it's a completely different thing to say, I'm sticking to my budget. And here's one thing too about budget. I think it's perspective also. And I learned this the hard way. I really learned this the hard way. When I started out, I had my dad's comment to me after 2 world tours where, you have more dollars than cents. Yeah, and he was absolutely right.
Making it rain money.
Yeah, we had fun, but I didn't learn about the budgeting until later. And one of the things I think many people, I did, a budget is there to stop you from spending money. It's like, well, that may be the initial perception. But truly, a budget is there so you can live your best life. Because what you put priority on when it comes to your finances is helping you truly, engage your passion in a way, because you are not necessarily limiting yourself to whatever resources and emotional buys you want to, but you're training yourself and putting yourself in a situation to be able to do the things that you find important and have the financials to do it when you stick to your budget, when you stick to your savings plan or something like that.
Right.
So that was the first big thing for me, was changing my perspective that this budget is really here to help me live my life, not hold me back from having fun.
Well, and putting a budget together can be eye-opening. You can say all day long, well, I don't have I don't have the money to do X, Y, and Z. But then when you put your budget together and you dissect what you have been spending your money on, you can see that you were spending $25 a week on Starbucks or, that fast food over there. And you add that up and it,
2 months, there's your $300 to
Right.
buy that thing that
Right.
dress or whatever you wanted to buy. I don't know. I think one of the things Matt also said, we talked about the union. So obviously with budgeting is, once you get the money in your pocket, that's great. And then what you do with it. I think even before, as an artist, getting into the unions, I don't think it's an end all be all. But it's a way to at least facilitate the income that you can expect. Obviously, and not obviously, but the two big, the biggest is SAG-AFTRA for TV and film, and then equity for stage performers. And then also there's some tips and tricks on how to get that equity card or get that SAG card.
That's when most of the dancers I've taught and stuff like that, that is their biggest question is, how do I get this card?
Well, there are some definitely cool tips and tricks for either the equity and the SAG, and to be able to get that in an environment where you can still get paid and manage your finances, but at the same time have the security of scale, at least and then ability and access to healthcare and resources and stuff like that. So I think also we have some of that information on the site as well. If you're an artist trying to get that equity card, there are different ways. And just here's some freebies. The regional theater is a big one. Theme parks who offer equity contracts is a big one. Obviously, everyone knows running to New York and sitting on the cattle call bench and hopefully getting into a show is one, but that is a little less calculated.
Well, you heard Matt's experience with that. He was sitting on the McDonald's. He had to use the McDonald's bathroom, sitting on the bench
in the cattle call line,
and they called him. I think maybe you can talk more about this, but there's a limit to how many times you can call someone back. I think he said 6.
6, yeah.
And it was the 6th time
they have to start paying you.
Before they have to start paying you. So it is a process, and you kind of have to be willing to.
You gotta pay the dues. This is definitely a pay the dues type of situation. But like we said, the regional theater for the equity, theme park that offer equity contracts is huge. That we have found more success in that because you're getting a good pay rate, you're getting performance experience, and you're not usually having to pay the high rents and high expenses of a big city because they're usually just outside the city and things.
And you have kind of an organization taking care of you too, because I know with everything going on with the pandemic right now, that was a big thing for some of these theme parks that do hold that. It wasn't until there's testing on site to make sure those performers are safe.
Have a little bit of protection with the union. And then also cruise lines. There's some equity contract for cruise lines as well. Casinos as well. Not so much they're not as far as few between. Let's put it this way: there's more casinos paying 1099 than there are W-2 and equity, but there's still an option. So just check out that as a way to start. And then I think also when it comes to equity and SAG and trying to get those cards, getting those union cards, it's about. And here's my big soapbox moment. It's about stopping and changing your perspective of being an artist. And then turning that perspective in you being a brand. Because at the end of the day, yes, you may be an amazing singer, you may be an amazing dancer, DP, director, choreographer, writer. If you are branding yourself in a way where you can use all of your talents in different income verticals or different income streams, and then turn yourself into a brand rather than just being known as a choreographer. Well, that choreographer could easily be now an instructor at workshops. That choreographer could now be doing classes online. That choreographer could write a book. Now it's an author, a teacher, a choreographer, and now an influencer. If you go online and teach dance, and so there's instead of just that's the hardest part I found with artists, is that to maintain and those financial resources to diversify yourself. And doing that, we found, well, for us, the most successful and logical, and 90%, I'd say 90%, at least for us, our clients get 90%, like 9 out of 10 are able to do what they need to do once they go through our branding services and find out, oh my gosh, I'm more of a brand. I was just talking to a girl, a young lady out in San Francisco. She's in San Francisco, and it was unfortunate. Not unfortunate, but it was a typical situation. She went to school. She's a model, and she's a singer. That she wants to be an actor, but her parents, really encouraged, I'll just say really strongly encouraged that she get, I'm just going to say a science degree because I don't want to kind of call her out, a science degree. And when I talked to her about the branding and what we're doing, her whole perception completely changed, because for her, science is not that she got the degree. She spent the 4.5 years getting that, but now she wants to kind of follow her passions. And so just basically being able to use those branding resources that she has available to her to turn her situation into one that's a financial benefit to her. And I guess with that, it's really how to cultivate attention. Obviously, everybody knows about that, Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, how to cultivate attention, but being of value to the project. One of the things that, people ask all the time, if I had a dime for every time, how do I get an agent? How do I get a manager? One, you should become a value. You should show that you're a value, that these managers and agents want you on their roster. Because most people go out and say, oh, I need an agent and manager, and they're going to make my way for me. I'll say this. Some of the most successful actors, people in the industry that I know, it wasn't their manager that got them. It was their relationships, which then the manager took from there on the business side. So, but hopefully we're talking to a really good friend of ours who'll explain his experience that coming up in the next few weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, I'm just trying to look at what we can say in regards to what tips and tricks and tools you can use as a arts and entertainment professional or one aspiring to be, and what to do in this time. So I think, just to kind of recap real quick, I think one, with the money you have, with the finances you have, budgeting, engaging your budget, basically, actually, sticking to your budget. And again, we don't have the time to go into much detail. Maybe we can do that later. Mm-hmm. But on our website, you can go to adamsdavy.com/AXS access. And there are resources there for individuals looking for that type of financial help. But one would be budgeting. I think two, keeping your relationships, who you're working with,
networking,
all that, keep that there. Just like with Matt, you have to pay the dues, be willing to be a value. For instance, if he had not come back and shown up on that sixth time, if he had said, I'm not going. Some people do that, believe me, they don't. But he kept going. He kept networking. He kept showing up. And on the sixth time, they said, okay, we want you in the show.
We talked about how life in this industry is really hard with him, and that you have to be able to take the rejection. And I think that is part of what he's talking about is, in order to make this financially viable, you have to be able to show up that next time, and keep showing up. That way you can prove yourself, because eventually, like he did, like you said, if he hadn't shown up for that sixth time, then who knows if he would be able to have the view he has and, afford all of those things, and just keep showing up.
Yeah, I will say this, showing up's half the battle. Mm-hmm. I was teaching, I think it was in Texas, Arlington. I was teaching at, I can't remember which college. I was doing a seminar, and I was talking about showing up is half the battle. And one of the young gentlemen raised his hand. He goes, okay, you mean to tell me that you're going to pay me to show up and do what I love, and I won't, and people don't show up? And I said, yeah. And he laughed. That's not good. I was like, oh, I wish. It's showing up is half the battle. Being at the, getting to the audition and being able to stay there that long.
The more resilience you have
Yeah.
in this industry to be able to take rejection and show up, because what happens is a lot of people don't have that resilience to stay in it and keep showing up. And that's why, he's probably shocked. He probably hasn't had much rejection yet.
Yeah, maybe not.
Get knocked down a few times.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to do. But, both of us with our financial challenges, it's a struggle. And, it's a battle every day that we have to, fight, or through memory or fear of it happening again and stuff like that. But if you can put these tools that we have for you in place, really just budgeting and communication, if you are in a partnership or managing finances with each other, and holding those relationships that and the networking, because you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it just, yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And there's so much more to it, but I'm just going to kind of fine tune, like, again, the best place if you're looking to at least get started, small steps, try and start budgeting with the money that you already have, with the finances you already have. 2, expand your relationships with decision makers and networking, because that's going to get you the opportunity to get more work. Use those opportunities to get into the unions and things of that nature. And what tips and tricks are going to be able to do that for equity and SAG? We talked for equity to regional theaters for SAG. I don't think we talked about it, but for the SAG part, a lot of student films out there, a lot of student films that sometimes eventually have a budget where they do a scale project, and having relationships with all these student directors. That is a really good way when the finances are there for them to go to a SAG project. They already know you, trust you, and you've been showing up for them, and they'll show up for you. Not everybody does, but that's a really good trick that we've helped people to get their SAG card. I think third is kind of take your artist mentality and turn yourself into a brand. I used Justin Timberlake as an example. He was a Mickey Mouse Club member, then he was in a boy band, then he was a solo singer. Now he produces, then he was in movies and as an actor, and then he was producing his wife's movies. He's more than just one thing. And being able to diversify yourself and be of value to people outside of just maybe, acting or just singing, on stage. Like, for instance, with Matt, he said, one of the things he loved as well was comic books. Mm-hmm. So, and the fact that we've, managed and helped with comic book authors and got them to South by Southwest and all that type of stuff, I was like really interested in that. But he wrote for a comic book for a number of years, which was huge in Korea, and brought in extra income there, and using his theatrical background to do that. So I think looking at yourself as a brand and not just an artist, and see what value you can bring there. And I think finally, just financial education, how to save, how to invest. Unfortunately, I feel the stereotype of the starving artist is a little bit because of the lack of financial education.
I agree.
Because if you work with what you have, you can grow that into anything. And I guess the last part for me, I've seen it so many times. And I'm a little harsh when it comes to this with just my opinion. I'm sure you guys will let me know either way how you feel. But you don't really, in my opinion, you don't really lose unless you quit. Mm. If you quit, then there's and some people can, I'm not here to justify or judge or whatever if you're going to quit or not. But if you keep going, there's nothing that there really isn't anything that should stop you from getting to where you want to go. If you want to be a huge movie star, you want to be the next Angelina Jolie, it's not about you really, it's not about you finding the right manager and finding the right agency and finding the right casting director. It's you honing your skills and becoming a value to the agents and to the managers and to the casting directors. Oh my gosh, we have to have you because you bring something so much special. You can't control if you're going to be a big star. You really can't. You can control what you put to your craft and what value you can bring to a project. And if you look at things that way, your financial stability should really increase, because being a value to decision makers is how you maintain your financial freedom in this business. And I'll jump off my soapbox there.
Well, it's true. You have to look at, is it ego, or is it, what do you want by being a big star? What is it like? Is it because you want the financial freedom? Do you want the fame? Why do you want the fame? You have to kind of dig a little deeper, into all of that. And I would say mindset. All of our branding clients, we talk all the time about, whether they're individuals or companies, the first thing we have to work on is their mindset. And I think, for me, it was the same way with the financial stuff too. I'm making why are you spending? Sometimes you got to dig a little deeper on why you budget the way you budget. Why do you value certain things the way you value, and really hone in on that.
Yeah, mindset is huge, because, for instance, when someone comes to us, we had like I said, I'm not going to name names, but we had one client who was in the NBA, and then from the NBA he got hurt in his first season. Awful. And then he had to reinvent himself and rebrand himself. And his mindset was a certain way. And we had to change it to, it's not about, not change it to, but adjust it to. It's not about the fans and everyone's admiration for you. Being a celebrity or being a big star, most people associate that with money, fame, attention, and people wanting to be around you. I find, if you focus on your craft, the rest will come. That's something I've seen and learned on my own. But if you fine tune your craft, the rest will follow. Patience, and hard work and effort. And I go, don't quit. If you want this, if you really want this, forget the education and keep going. Yeah.
Our audio guy's going to be real angry because
I was getting a little emotional.
On the table.
Yeah.
Sorry, AJ.
Yeah, sorry about that. But so I guess, when we can kind of wrapping up here for today, there's hopefully these are some tips and tricks and ideas to get started towards financial freedom within this industry. I think one of the big things, again, we're trying just pitching. So if you're looking for some free resources, go to the adamsdavy.com website /AXS. And a lot of those resources are there.
And we'll be posting some tips on our social and stuff like that. So engage with us and tell us what you're looking for as far as,
questions.
What are you struggling with as far as maintaining, or what, if this is this is the type of business and passion you have, what are you afraid of as far as, your finances? What can we help you with?
And if people, and some of the listeners are in high school, college, we're here to help, those people trying to,
because if you are trying to go to college, we have a whole scholarship program that we have done for many kids. And so that might be something that you're looking into as well as
how to get scholarships and funding. It's the exact same thing. It's just that you're basically showing a value to a college or a grant organization on why that money should go to you. I mean, we had one young lady, she's a friend of ours now, but we got her $5,000 for being left-handed. It's that crazy. We had another client. It was a long, tall Texan, $10,000 because he was 6'4", 6'5", and met the requirements. So it's like you have to find. It's basically digging. But at the same time, what is special about you? What is the brand? How do you bring value to other people? And then those finances will come from that. And I guess That's kind of the whole thing in a scoop.
And we're here. We're going to be here every week. And so we're really going to dive into these and give you some more
Right.
tactical things that you can do, free resources, because obviously finances are hard. Probably paying for, how to brand myself is probably not something that, you're probably nervous
We can
to
give you
pay
steps
for,
and
but we can give you
directions
steps and stuff till you get there. So we're here every week, and we got an interview next week coming up.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited about that. And so, without further ado, we're going to kind of wrap it up here. But I would say,
follow us on
yes,
visit us at adamsdavy.com to get those free resources /AXS access, and find us at Adams Davy Access on all social media.
Yep.
Or Adams Davy, or you can find Tony.
You can find me, Tony Smith Pro,
and
on all
I'm
social media.
Sarah Nave Smith. So we look forward to hearing from you and engaging with you guys on social. Oh, and don't forget about Tony and Sarah TikTok. Go follow us.
Yeah, we're having fun with those.
We're
having fun. Again, before we wrap up, I guess I've said wrap up again.
Keeps doing.
I know, right? Before we go, sorry, they're trying to wrap me up, and I'm here talking. Engage your passion. Go for it. So I guess I'll just leave that last thought. Don't give up. Go for it. You can do this. You can do this, and
We're proof.
We're proof. We're proof.
You can do it.
That you can do it. So to sign off, I'm Tony.
I'm Sarah.
And together we are
Tony and Sarah.
All right. Have a good week, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.